2021 marks the year that ISDA publishes a replacement for its flagship interest rate definitions booklet. The 2006 ISDA definitions have provided interest rate derivatives markets with standardized terms for over 15 years. It's been supplemented for 70 times to make amendments such as the incorporation of the IBOR fallbacks. But those amendments have made them very unwieldy to use in practice. The 2021 ISDA interest rate definitions will consolidate those supplements into a newly minted main book, as well as making changes so that the definitions better reflect the characteristics of modern interest rate derivatives markets. You can find further information on what is changing and why on the ISDA website at www.isda.org, and particularly on the 2021 definitions webpage. Today, however, we wanted to focus on how the different definitions will be implemented. And I'm delighted to be joined by Guy Gurdon, Managing Director for Market Serves Rate Product Management Team, Brian Lynn, who is leading the 2021 definitions project for FPML, and ISDA's own Jonathan Martin to discuss implementation of the 2021 definitions. John, perhaps I could start with you. When are the 2021 definitions being published, and what are the plans for its implementation?
Sure, yeah, thanks, Rick. So the 2021 definitions will be published on the 17th of May this year, so in just over a month from now. That date, however, will not be the date that they are implemented by the market as the market standard definitional booklet for interest rate derivatives. Market participants and infrastructure firms need a period of time from the publication of the final version of a definitional booklet to digest the changes and implement them into their systems, e.g. trading systems, confirmation platforms, etc. So therefore, the industry go-live date or implementation date of the 2021 definitions will be the first Monday in October, so the 4th of October. So in other words, the 2006 definitions will remain the market standard for interest rate derivative trades up to the close of business on Friday, the 1st of October. And from the opening of business on Monday, the 4th of October, the market standard will be to trade under the 2021 definitions. That will also be the date, the 4th of October, that the major clearinghouses switch trades to follow the new 2021 definitions.
Thanks, John. So what will happen to the 2006 ISDA definitions?
Well, the 2006 definitions are not going away. They're not being deleted. They will remain in place and they can still be accessed on the ISDA website. They can continue to be referenced in old trades, and I even expect some new trades to reference them for some time after the 4th of October, as was the case when we switched from the 2000 definitions to the 2006 definitions. There was a period of time where the 2000 definitions were still used. However, the 2006 definitions will be frozen in time from the 1st of October. So this means that any new benchmarks, for example, that get added, new methodologies that are developed will only get added to the 2021 definitions going forward from that October date. They won't be included in the 2006 definitions from that date. So market participants really need to switch over to the 2021 definitions for new trades, as the 2006 definitions will soon become stale as the market evolves.
Brian and Guy, perhaps I could bring you in at this stage. But before we talk about what implementation looks like from your perspective, could you provide a brief explanation of the role of FPML and middleware such as MarketWire in the derivatives market? Brian, perhaps I could turn to you first.
Thank you, Rick. So FPML is the electronic messaging standard used by the large majority of industry utilities and platforms for communicating with market participants and other platforms. It's closely based on the ISDA definitions, and it's designed to fully support the terms in those definitions. It is used heavily by execution facilities, middleware services, confirmation services, clearinghouses, and regulatory reporting trade repositories. FPML defines how its users describe the details of derivative transactions. Those detailed descriptions allow firms to electronically communicate the terms of those trades to other firms, and for message recipients to fully populate the electronic representation of those trades in their own systems.
Thanks, Brian. And Guy?
Yes, Rick. Well, put simply, MarketWire provides end-to-end trade processing and workflow that supports all participants in OTC trading, from post-trade trade confirmation and allocations through to clearing and reporting. We use FPML-based messaging to achieve that connectivity and interoperability between market participants. And that's whether we're interfacing to an upstream trade execution venue or to a downstream clearinghouse. All the transactions that pass through MarketWire conform to a level of standardization. And in part, this is achieved through our use of FPML, which means parties don't have to be concerned about how the transaction was introduced into the middleware network. In other words, it can be consumed the same regardless of the trade source, which lowers integration costs. And for non-cleared transactions specifically, MarketWire provides an electronic legal confirmation for parties, which are confirmed under the umbrella of their existing ISDA and non-ISDA master agreements.
Thanks, Guy. So, Brian, John spoke about implementation on the 4th of October 2021. What steps is FPML taking in the run-up to that date?
Thanks, Rick. FPML has analyzed the impact of the new definitions on the whole FPML messaging ecosystem, and we identified two major areas of impact. First, the floating rate option definitions are changing significantly. We've worked closely with ISDA Legal as they developed a categorization system for the new floating rate options and have helped put together a new naming convention for them. We'll also be publishing new and enhanced reference metadata about the new floating rate options to help FPML users understand better how to calculate them. Second, we'll need to enhance the FPML standard to allow it to represent the new features in the 2021 definitions. These include new cash settlement provisions, as well as the ability to represent new calculated rates based on overnight risk-free rates that is being introduced into the 2006 definitions and will be ported into the 2021 definitions. We'll be publishing a new version of the standard, and in some cases, updating widely used older versions of the standard. We recently published a first working draft of FPML 512, and we expect to publish successively more refined versions of that standard over the coming months, with a trial recommendation suitable for design and development of production systems targeted for mid-July. The FPML Standards Committee is currently reviewing and refining the FPML timeline to ensure that the overall 2021 definitions timeline will be met.
Thanks, Brian. So if people want to find more information on FPML's plans, where's the best place for them to look?
The FPML.org website is the best source for information about the standard. It will include FPML publication timelines, and it allows versions of the standard, including drafts, to be downloaded and reviewed. People wanting more detailed information and to participate in the process are also welcome to join the FPML Cross-Asset Product Working Group, which is currently working through the impact of the 2021 definitions on FPML.
Thanks, Brian. Guy, from what you say, MarketWire sits really in the middle of the cleared and non-cleared markets. So what are your plans around implementing the 2021 definitions?
At MarketServe, we are working to ensure that our key MarketWire and Trade Manager interest rate derivative platforms are ready to support customers transitioning over to the 2021 definitions for both cleared and non-cleared transactions on the October 4th market adoption date. The impact of the 2021 definitions implementation on electronic confirmations and clearing workflows can broadly be divided into considering the cleared and non-cleared transactions separately. If we start with the cleared transactions, we've already seen from information being provided by leading CCPs that they anticipate the main changes to FPML messaging needed to support cleared transactions under the new definitions will be supporting the new set of floating rate option names and to reference in a message that the transaction is subject to the 2021 definitions. CCPs have indicated that as of a given date, they will, via an amendment to their rulebooks, convert all legacy cleared populations to be under the terms of the 2021 definitions. However, some CCPs may still accept a transaction presented for clearing which references floating rate options under the 2006 definitions. But the resulting cleared transaction will still be created under the terms of the 2021 definitions. This may ease some of the day one cutover concerns and will prevent trades being rejected in the workflow if, for example, they didn't conform strictly to using the new 2021 FRO names. For the non-cleared electronic confirmations, the introduction of the 2021 definitions has the biggest impact for transactions that incorporate early termination provisions. That's both optional mutual puts and mandatory early terminations. The introduction of new cash settlement methods and associated confirmable level terms, and the deprecation of some existing cash settlement methods, such as the cash price method, means that there will be some unavoidable, non-backward compatible changes to FPML in order to support these new cash settlement provisions. Therefore, for non-cleared electronic confirmations, parties will have to be very explicitly and consciously specifying terms which are compatible with the new definitions, language, and terminology. We expect to be able to provide support for the 2021 definitions under existing FPML version 4 series messaging on our platforms, which will be updated to allow new features relevant to the 2021 definitions. However, we will not be able to support the new definitions under older messaging based around FPML version 2. And we began communicating that to our customers in December of last year through our MarketWire rates working group. Several CCPs have indicated that new transactions arising from the LIBOR to RFR conversion processes planned for Q4 of 2021 will be booked referencing the ISDA 2021 definitions and using corresponding new floating rate option names. The dress rehearsals for these events in test environments over the summer will similarly follow this approach. And MarketWire will support the booking of these cleared trades under the 2021 definitions in the UAT environments via our CCP sync service, along similar timeframes to the testing of the CCPs. We expect some of the first elements of our 2021 definition support for cleared transactions will be available for customer testing as early as late May, i.e. next month. We will make further functional releases into our user testing environments focused on necessary support of non-cleared transactions leading up to the eventual production cutover in October. As the MarketWire platform provides legal confirmation for non-cleared transactions under the terms of bilateral master agreements, it's worth noting that legal confirmation for transactions under the new 2021 definitions will be added alongside existing support for confirmations that reference the 2006 or 2000 ISDA definitions. While we expect new transactions, both cleared and non-cleared, to start referencing the 2021 definitions from October 4th, existing legacy non-cleared transactions will remain unchanged on the platform, unless subject to any protocol or other form of bilateral agreement between parties to amend them to incorporate the new definitions.
Thanks, Guy. So clearly a huge amount of things going on there. How can people find more information on MarketWire's plans with respect to the 2021 definitions?
To help our customers get ready, we'll shortly be starting the first of a MarketServe working group series focused solely on the 2021 definitions implementation. I encourage anybody that hasn't already signed up to this working group series to contact their MarketServe sales or product contacts to be added to those working groups.
Great, thanks, Guy. So, John, let me come back to you. What steps do you recommend market participants take to prepare for implementation of the 2021 definitions?
Well, first of all, I'd recommend you look where you are currently using the 2006 definitions. For example, you might want to create an inventory of the transaction types where you reference the 2006 definitions and look how they are used in your systems. Then I would recommend that you look at the educational material on the ISDA website to understand what is being changed. So there's a lot of material on the ISDA website. There's call recordings of specific sections going through the particular changes. So that will give you an idea of what needs to be changed and an example, for example, what new confirmation fields do I need to implement? And lastly, I would recommend that you reach out to your market infrastructure firms that you connect with, such as clearinghouses, execution venues, MarketWire, etc., to understand how they are transitioning to the new 2021 definitions to ensure that you can connect smoothly to them to ensure smooth transition for your firm.
Well, Guy, Brian, John, thank you very much for those insights. With the 2006 ISDA definitions no longer being updated after the October implementation date, it's important the market participants prepare to adopt the 2021 definitions. The definitional booklet is in the final throes of the drafting process, and further information on their substance and ISDA's implementation plans can be found on our website, particularly on the 2021 definitions webpage. Thank you for listening.